Evening and welcome to the Lake Mills Parks Board meeting of October 20, 2025. We'll go through the agenda and then we'll go through the process. So the agenda, we'll do this call to order, the roll call, Parks and Forestry Director's report from Eric, the Parks Board minutes, review and approve the minutes of September 8th. Other public comments, including emails, new business, which includes parks fee schedule and the review of the Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan, also known as CORP. Announcements, Facilities and Grounds Director employee status, create next meeting agenda items, and the next meeting will be on Monday, November 10th, then with an adjournment. So, roll call. Anita, would you begin, please?
Anita Martin here.
Tim Sprecher here.
Mary Schmager here.
Jacob Slobby here. Mike Niesman here.
All right, thank you. So Eric, item number 3, Parks and Forestry Director's report for October.
All right, I'll highlight a few items. First, in forestry, Milton Street construction is complete. There will be a final report on that project by Brianna from Tree Health Management. That's going to be shared with Department of Public Works staff and myself. From what I understand, Brianna does plan to actually present that at some WAA conferences in the future. So I'm not sure if she can make the fall one because I believe the fall one has already occurred or is upcoming at this point. But she did express interest in presenting at the Wisconsin Arborist Association regarding new implementation of a pilot program for tree protection policies. So I have not seen that report yet, but looking forward to seeing it and what her comments will be regarding Milton Street tree protection policy. Next is parks winterizing and seasonal closures. We are going to be leaving some restrooms open until November 1. We have a lot of public interest in Bartles and Rotary Park remaining open for as long as possible. Bartles mostly for walkers and dog walkers, and then Rotary Park for pickleball. So we'll try to accommodate November 1st for those restrooms, with the remainder being closed sometime this week into next week. This includes equipment servicing and shutdown, so our tractors, lawnmowers that we won't be using anymore, ball diamond drags, etc. We're storing and putting away for the winter. Bat and wood duck boxes or houses are installed. That's still an ongoing project, but we will be having, I forget what the date is, but I can send it to all of you. We will actually be having a bat biologist from the Wisconsin DNR do a presentation in the community center in collaboration with the Girl Scouts coming up in the next few weeks, just being another portion of their project for installing these. And they're looking at having some educational signage attached to those posts as well. If you noticed, the locations for the wood duck boxes are on the mill pond, one being on the west side on Bartles Beach, the other being on the east side off of Veterans Lane. There are 2 bat houses at Tyranena Park, specifically Upper Tyranena Park, and there's 1 duck house at Wallace Park near the actual drainage ditch, as well as another bat house on the north side of the Story Walk. So those are all 6 that were installed. For Sandy Beach redevelopment, staff has been preparing, and you'll see it, we'll discuss this evening, replacement revenue sources is what the priority was for staff to research for the loss of B level for the mobile home park. And beach closures did present at Joint Rock Lake Committee last week regarding current testing practices and protocols in relation to other municipal testing policies, and then what can potentially be done in the future to assist and find point source of E. coli. Lastly, actually just today, update for Bartles Beach. Our permit was approved by the Wisconsin DNR for the shoreline restoration seawall project for Bartles Beach. So with that moving forward, our bid opening is on October 23rd, and at that point we'll know who our designated contractor is for the Bartles Beach project. Any other questions?
Mary?
I'm curious to know for Sandy Beach, the results of the tree assessment that was completed.
Will still be shared in basically a final report for the concept. So the next stage of the concept drawing will include tree assessments, I suppose, for the most part.
So okay, can you explain that again? So the tree, so the The tree assessment is you're waiting for what?
Tree assessment's completed and will be taken to Meet and Hunt for the concept designers.
Oh.
And what'll happen is it'll be clickable features, movable features, et cetera, regarding the actual tree assessments included in concept drawing.
Oh, okay,
So it'll be integrated into a concept drawing.
okay.
That way, location can be assessed for the actual tree. I thought a spreadsheet is good to have that information, but if you actually have it on a map and where it lies in the park would be a little bit more beneficial. So our tree assessments will be integrated into a concept drawing.
Were there a lot that needed to be taken down?
Not necessarily. There's some that are declining. There's a lot of ones, unfortunately, a lot of those oaks are at the point to where they may be declining. But we noticed no substantial tip dieback on them at this time, but we did remove 3 that were in Sandy Beach, kind of in the volleyball court playground area within the last few years that did have very quick dieback. They did not have confirmed oak wilt within the park. The one that did have confirmed oak wilt was in the trailer park, so I certainly hope that it's not oak wilt. Primarily the ones that may be in question would be smaller trees on the west side, closer to the boat launch if we do end up doing a bit of a beach expansion or a recreational area there for volleyball courts. Some smaller ones that were planted less than 10 years ago. And then the cedars that are actually on the east side, depending on where the beach layout lies, may potentially be impacted. As of right now, immediate removals necessary, less than 3, not substantially large trees though.
Thank you.
Yes, Mike?
I just saw something in the Milwaukee Journal about substantial oak wilt in a Milwaukee park, and they had to take out over a dozen, I think.
Yeah. That's exactly why we test though. If there's perceived oak wilt, I want to make sure that it's removed as soon as possible, and that's why we test for oak wilt.
Right, thank you. Any other comments, questions? If not, let's go to the item number 4, Parks Board Minutes, review and approval of the September 8th, 2025 minutes. Thank you, Mike, for presenting them. Any comments, corrections? All right, I have no comments or corrections. I ask for a motion to accept the Parks Board minutes of September 8th as presented.
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second the motion.
All right, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Parks Board minutes of September 8th are accepted. Thank you very much. Moving on to other public comments, including emails. Agenda item number 5.
I got an email from someone that said they'd like to see, they described it as like those little libraries that people put in their front yards. They'd like to see those installed at Bartles Beach, but it would have toys, like just plastic toys for kids instead of books, so that parents could take their kids to the beach and toys are there and they can just put them back. And so something along those lines was suggested.
So, Jacob, did they mention that they saw it someplace else, or would this be something that would be?
They just said it basically would operate like one of those, like, they didn't share a picture or anything, they just said they'd love to see like a communal toy box kind of situation that could look like one of those take a book, leave a book things.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Just a point, I mean, it makes great sense, and we harvest plastic toys on our beach front, which is 100 yards, 50 yards from Bartles. But always being a Cassandra, who, by the way, her curse was that she always predicted the future, but no one would believe her. So anyway, at least in doctor's offices, some years back, there was a big thing about having toys because you bring your kid in, now they get sick. Was that my fault because I didn't clean that toy? Just a thought, if you're going to incorporate that, it's something to keep in the back of your mind. How responsible are you for the safety of those toys? Not to be anyway.
Well, and I know a little bit about those neighborhood libraries. It's pretty much come and go. You take them, you put them back. It's sort of a organic thing. So I would guess that if we were going to do something like that, people have to be aware that if you're going to use these, you're going to use your own disinfectant or let your kids get germs or whatever. But I would think that wouldn't be too much of a city responsibility. But that's just conjecture on my part. But I think it's a good idea.
Normally, there's recreational immunity when it comes down to a lot of those things. If people choose to do them,
Right.
it's on their own volition.
Yeah, yeah.
So would we, if we did something like that, would we probably have some kind of disclaimer saying, please, sanitize on your own or something, maybe?
But I think it might be worth exploring just as, like I said, there's always something that's missing something, whether it be a Frisbee or just, those, balls to throw back and forth or something like that. Be kind
I've
of
got
fun.
some shovels and beach balls all waiting to put
Yeah.
in there.
There you go. Plastic, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I did have someone, I don't know if it was a comment, but they asked about the new tree waste spot, and they said they were a little confused as to whether or not they can still put logs there. Because they said there was a sign that said 2-inch maximum, and they asked where can they put their other. So I thought they could do it at the far, would be what, east end, south end?
I'm not sure. So the Yardway Center would be oversight from the Public Works Department. Now, I don't know if we would have a designated spot for anything larger than 2 inches. I think that would be a point of clarification from Randy from Public Works. I'm not sure how it was necessarily managed in the past with anything larger than 2 inches. There may have been a designated spot or bin for it. I know that it's hard for city staff to process things that are any larger than that, especially if we're doing a compost pile for them to actually break down. At this point, we don't have a designated log drop-off location. But I would say if anyone does have input, encourage you to reach out to Randy Meyer in my Public Works.
Okay, all right.
So I don't necessarily have the answer to that question.
Yeah, because someone asked that they didn't think they had that restriction at the other waste place, and I said, don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to comment on how the previous one was enforced. I know there was frequently logs that were placed in there, but whether they were allowed or not, I suppose it would come down to an enforcement question.
Yeah, right, thank you. Any other public comments, including emails? Yes, Mary?
I have received several emails from one citizen who is very excited about our recommendations to the city council regarding a new play structure and some of our other ideas. And most of this person's input also has been around the food and beverage service and an interest in definitely trying to get something that is hot meals and drinks down in that area. Building upon our, I could call it pavilion, maybe making it more, like, kind of keeping it low cost, but it's kind of, I'd say, in the same concept of what we had talked about. And also, now that the decision has been made on Part B to be decommissioned, generating additional ideas of what could be in that space, and then long-term future, what could be in the balance, should we desire not to be in mobile home park development in the very long term in the Parts A and Pines. And so some of those ideas are like a dog run and a big wheel track and a big walking path. I mean, just a lot of different ideas that are, I think, kind of unique and interesting. And so I think it's been, I think he's sending it to me, I think it's the city council representative, but since there was quite a bit of support for some of the Parks Board recommendations in this person's input, I wanted just to share that with this group.
Thank you, Mary. Any others? All right, if not, let's move on to item number 6, new business. A, discussion recommendation of the 2026 Parks fee schedule, 2501. And have all of you had a chance to look at the Parks Board Resolution 2501, recommending park fees updates to City Council? I'm going to read it and then maybe give a little background, and then we'll see what our thoughts and then approval is. But
I can provide some input as well if you need.
all right, thank you, Eric. So whereas sections 46-8 and 46-20 of the municipal code of the city of Lake Mills authorizes and directs the city council to establish a schedule of fees relating to the use and operation of city parks, and whereas the Parks Board has reviewed the city parks fees and recommends the fees be adopted by city council through the 2026 season, and whereas staff have reviewed the proposed fees, market rates, and similar fee structures, and assessed to cover associated city staff costs via time and materials. Now, therefore be it resolved by the Parks Board of the City of Lake Mills that the schedule of fees is recommended for approval by the City Council to govern the use and operation of the outlined park activities from and after December 31st, 2025. So the 2025 fee schedule was boat trailer parking was $450. The proposed 2026 fee schedule is $800. The boat lift rental was $1,325 in 2025. It is proposed to be changed to $2,325. And the Tier 3 and 4 athletic field rentals there was no fees to those in 2025, and the proposal is for Tier 3 and 4 athletic field rentals, $30 per use. So that is the resolution. Comments, questions, or asking for input from Eric?
I can provide a bit of background here to an introduction to it. So if you do recall, there was a previous Parks Board recommendation for the boat lift fees. The one that's recommended here is consistent with that. However, as far as implementation, it still does need city council approval. So that is tacked on. The two that we are looking at here is specifically boat trailer parking and the Tier 3 and 4 athletic field rentals. So staff was tasked, as you know, looking at replacement revenue sources within the park system to do what we can to alleviate any lost revenue of the B level of the trailer park. So looking at cost analysis, or basically revenue analysis for some of these, we had, I'll specifically speak about boat parking. Right now, there are 37 spots at $450 each. Yep. Boat trailer parking.
How many did you say there were?
37 spots at $450 each, which has a revenue of $16,650. Now, if we increase that to $800 per, it would be $29,600 total, which is a near $13,000 increase in revenue. The reason why this was looked at is I would prefer to not increase the general user fees associated with the Parks Department. These are 37 spots, so what's happening is it's being charged to 37 users for storage of their boat rather than impacting the general parks user. So that's why I recommended we assess this one. And looking at other market rates, I feel like this is consistent with both storage. It's very rare for municipalities to perform any boat storage operations, but looking at other private municipalities, it's in line. It's not the cheapest, it's not the most expensive. It would be in line with other options that I had found within the area. Now for the athletic field use, from what I found, we're one of the few only communities that does not charge for private use of the ball fields. We currently, within our athletic field policy, only charge for field preparation from city staff, not just general field use. What I mean by private teams would be league teams, paid league teams, anything that is not recreation department or school district use is normally charged for dedicated use of those athletic fields. So when I looked at the data collected this year for the season, there were over 1,200 general uses of the athletic fields that were scheduled throughout our system. 544 of those were private uses. This includes both games as well as practices, but it gave those teams designated use of those for a window of time. Looking at other municipalities, I saw anywhere from $20 to $40 up to $60 being the most extreme for general field use. Again, this is not associated with prep time, so $30 would be, in my opinion, right between the center. Now, it was really hard to accommodate all of these teams. I do think that this will soften a little bit of the field uses, so we don't have as much impounding of our field uses from other municipalities using them in private league teams. So with this number of 544 non-sanctioned, let's say tier 3, tier 4 uses, private team uses throughout the 2025 season at $30 per field rental, that would be an approximate revenue source of over $16,000 if we have projected at the same numbers.
So, Eric, just for clarification, what would be your thought when you say it would soften? So right now it's 500 and some.
Yeah.
Are you looking at down to 450? So if you do the math on the 450, it's a bit different.
It may. So I would say we were at or beyond capacity of our field use currently through the 2025 season. We were slammed. It was very hard to accommodate all teams within them. If they are charged, there may be other teams that space out their usage and rotate with other municipalities who are also charging. Some of these teams that are private leagues may use Lake Mills in conjunction with Fort Atkinson, Jefferson, and Watertown, rather than just using Lake Mills because it's free.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
That's the thought process behind it.
And just for clarification, labeling something tier 3 and tier 4 would say that there's a tier 1 and tier 2.
There is within our athletic field policy, yes.
So could you just, for clarification, what is an example of a tier 1 and a tier 2?
Lake Mills School District and Recreation Departments would be tier 1 and tier 2.
All right.
Sanctioned users versus non-sanctioned users, so governmental organizations. So Lakeside and Lake Mills would be a tier 1, Recreation Department being a tier 2. Tier 3 would be Lake Mills Club Baseball, which is a private team. Tier 4 being Thundercats, something like that, like a private team.
All right, thank you.
So any questions regarding the fee structure, I would direct to the athletic field policy regarding who would be what when it comes to an actual field user. But I did notice that after we enacted that field use policy, it was something that we didn't catch. It is an anomaly for cities not to charge for designated field use.
Thank you.
Could I ask a question?
Absolutely. Anita, question?
Thank you. Could you repeat at the $30 level what that would be? I just didn't hear it.
$16,200.
Thank you.
So looking at these two, actually 3 revenue sources. The boat lift one being, if you go $1,000 up, which is already recommended from Parks Board, that would be $28,000 increase of revenue. $16,000 increase in revenue if the field rentals is passed. And then with the boat trailer parking, additional $13,000.
Can you repeat those numbers one more time?
$28,000 for boat lifts.
Was that, and that was 2025?
This would be an increase in revenue.
Oh, 28,000, okay.
$28,000 increase. So including the previous cost, this would be $65,000 that the city would bring in for boat lifts. So we are increasing our $37,000 by $28,000, which means $65,000 the city is pulling in revenue from boat lifts. Field rentals, like I said, would be an additional around $16,000 projected. And boat trailer parking would be $30,000 total, $29,600 total, which means that's a $13,000 increase from previous years. So these are low impact, in my opinion, revenue sources. Easy things that can be implemented through a fee structure system on what we currently have. There's no additional staff time associated with managing any of these for the most part. We already have a field rental system in place, and we do have the ability to accept online payments for them. So I know Mary said this comment a lot, low-hanging fruit. If this is low-hanging fruit, easy things to soften the blow of loss of B-level revenue sources, I think this is the first step to look at.
All right, thank you. Mary?
I just want to remind everybody, we are like one of the only that I've ever been able to find that have lifts and not slips.
Correct.
And just, I will let you know, I have heartburn that we didn't go higher, because I can tell you to pull a lift off is expensive, one lift. And so you have to put the lift in and take the lift out. And so that's running, I should have looked at I can look it up while I'm sitting here, but it is several $100s to put it in and several hundred to take it out. So I feel like we have been way undercharging, and I am still feeling, just FYI, that I think that the boat lift rental is still a great deal, exceptionally low still, in my opinion. But I support what we're recommending to City Council, and if there are any questions, if there's anything you'd like me specifically to bring forward to represent the Parks Board's viewpoints on any of these three, boat lift included, I would be happy to make sure I have those in my notes. So if questions are asked, I represent our collective perspective.
Yes, sir.
If I may provide the input too, this will be on the city council agenda tomorrow evening. Now, if the Parks Board has a different recommendation than what's proposed here, that can be done. There would just be two recommendations or two resolutions that would go to city council, and city council would determine at that point. But these fee structures as proposed here is what city council will be discussing. So I just want to make sure that that's clear, that if Parks Board has different prerogatives, they want to reassess some of these fees, I can adjust the resolution as written, but there still would be the same ones going to city council as well, and they would have to vote on the two.
Thank you for that update, Eric. I do have a question, and I think it'd be important to go back to Mary's comment about fees and costs of putting the things in and taking them out. Do we have some sort of average of what it costs to repair these lifts?
It really depends on what the damage is. It can be anywhere from a couple $100 to, I don't know. I haven't had anything over $1,000. Let me put that into, I would be confident that I haven't had a lift repair over $1,000.
Okay, but I mean, it's still a cost that,
It is. I will say there's also cost alleviations just because the volume that we have. We are charged less per lift just because we have 28 of them. That's in one standardized location. Now, I think to pull the lifts out, it's under $4,000 to pull and install all of our lifts.
okay, thank you.
And that's an approximation as well, I mean.
Yeah. So
A
just-
question.
Yes,
I
Mike.
don't remember, didn't we talk about a phased increase in the cost of the boat lift rental?
That was discussed at the last time, and then it was approved by Parks Board just to implement the
At
23,
this
25.
And then also, we also talked about going to slips. Would that be something you would recommend doing over time as the lifts wear out? Or would you just say, all right, next year we're done, we're going with slips?
That's how I would probably pursue it during the park renovation processes.
Okay.
I think it would be really hard to accommodate both a lift structure and a slip structure. I think there would also be different fees associated with them. There's different contractor costs associated with it, different pier sections that lead up to them. It will be a fairly substantial cost to implement those, but I think it would be best when the park is being renovated to include it as one of those capital items for renovations.
All right, so thank
So
you.
Band-Aid of boat slips, I guess, is what it would be, lifts to slips for the most part.
So are there any comments regarding what you've heard from Eric and Mary's comments? Are we ready to motion to approve this recommendation going to the city council tomorrow? And if yes, do I have someone that would motion to?
I'll make a motion to accept it as presented, understanding we can still have a discussion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right, thank you. So all in favor of accepting the motion as presented, say
Excuse me,
aye.
I think we have a discussion first, and then we accept it, don't we?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So you have a motion.
If there is a
Yep.
discussion.
You currently have a motion on the table
Yep.
to accept these, but you can have a discussion at this point.
I mean, I'm fine with accepting as is, but I didn't know if you wanted to, okay.
No, I'm fine accepting it. I just wanted when I got my bill for getting the lift out, it's a few $100. And so I'm like, oh, this is still a great deal, as I wanted to say. And specifically, since we have lifts, not just slips. And even if it was slips, I still think it would be a great deal, honestly. I think we haven't outpriced ourselves by going up $1,000. So I support it, but thank you, Mike.
All right. Any other discussion?
I agree with Mary that this is extremely fair for a lift, but I think we've basically all kind of come to the consensus that a few years down the road, it's going to be slipped. So I would like to avoid the idea of going from 1325 to 5,000, back to 2,500, once we transition the slips, if that's in the future. So like, that's why I feel it is a significant jump, but it's still extremely affordable. So I am very content with this number.
And as Mary has commented, anyone that's been or does have a lift that with a private entity, you know, one, the lifts cost money, and two, in and out costs money. So I think that's, you know, from our discussion before, and thus the resolution and recommendation we're coming up with, I think is been well thought out, well researched, and I believe we are prepared to recommend it. All right, so we have a motion to accept, we have a second to accept, now we just need to have a vote to accept, all right? So a motion, a vote, please. Anita?
I approve.
All right, I approve.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so the City of Lake Mills Parks Board Resolution 2051 recommending park fees updates to the City Council is approved. And I will ask, am I to sign this now, Eric, and then you're going to test it?
Correct, and that's
All right.
what will be used as a supporting document for city council tomorrow.
And here, could you pass this down to Eric, please?
It's history.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Drake. Welcome. We are moving on to the next part of new business, which is item B, discussion review of comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. Specifically, is it chapter 10?
10, yep.
So chapter 10, and that was included in your packet. So it would be, at this point, it's been labeled, I believe there are 7 pages. So let's go in order, and we'll make adjustments as we go, or approvals as we go. Is that okay with everyone?
Yep. There's just a few things that were recommended for changing, or at least additions from last meeting as well. These are majority being editorial ones, and then some inclusions that we didn't quite have the language for. So this would be version 2 of our draft, chapter 10.
All right, should we label it as such, version 2?
So all the recommended edits were completed, and then if you have any questions, I can go through the areas that were added as far as ones that we didn't really know what the language should be at the time.
All right, thank you. So would someone like to start with page 1, which is, in order to conduct a thorough and accurate planning process, it's important to establish a set of goals, objectives, and policies that will serve as the basis for the recommendations in this plan. And it goes down there, and there, so on this page, there are goals. The goals provide all residents and visitors, regardless of age or ability, with a range of recreational opportunities through the provision of sufficient parks, recreational facilities, and other publicly accessible open space areas. Another goal is to preserve the city natural resources and amenities for the benefit of current and future residents, the cities, I should say. And then third goal, aim to leave users in awe of the park system. So any comments about the goals?
They look good to me.
All right. And then we will move on to part of the goals is to land acquisition. So maintain an adequate amount of active and passive recreational lands to meet current and future recreational needs in the city of Lake Mills. And the strategies, one is to acquire additional lands for park use based on current demand, projected demand, and environmental significance as recommended in this comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. And moving on to page number 2, acquire parklands through the land developer dedications when feasible for recreation facilities in areas targeted for future park development. 3, explore various means of acquiring land for parks and for developing park facilities, including impact fees, park improvement fees, parkland dedication requirements, state and federal grants, conservation easements, and nonprofit organizations. And then 4th of the acquisition is required that all new residential developments meet the park and open space standards and recommendations as outlined in this plan and implemented by the municipal code. Comments, anything on the land acquisition piece? If not, let's move on to the park. I'm sorry, Mary, yes?
And I only have one comment, only because I'm quite an analytical person, and the word adequate and the maintain an adequate amount of active and passive recreational lands is very vague. And so I just don't like the word adequate. And I think we kind of talked about how to reconcile some of our words in this, and I don't want to be nitpicking on it, but I just think we need to ensure we have like active and passive recreational lands. But the adequate to me is just, it's hard to measure what adequate is unless we were planning on putting some metrics to it. I think that word just doesn't sit well with me.
Would you have a suggestion for a replacement word or phrase?
I would just say maintain active and passive recreational lands to meet current and future recreational needs in the city of Lake Mills, and just remove an adequate amount of.
Any comments on that?
We have to
People good with
maintain
that?
active and passive recreational lands. That's a given that we
I think you kind of have to leave in the
amount.
land, yeah, I don't think you can just say acquire, lands.
I'm okay with additional, I'm never okay with the number 1 strategy. I'm just underneath that,
So, yeah.
that big, the big,
So
right under land.
How about maintain an amount of active and passive recreation to meet current? Or the amount of, to leave out amount is, I think, sort of.
Well, do we have, to that point, do we have some sort of standards that are out there, like an organization that has an idea of what in a city of, say, projected to be, I'm just to put out there, 7,000 people in the next, 10 years? Is there a percentage of active and passive recreational things that are in?
I'm sure there's metrics out there as far as comparing other municipalities, but is there a required amount, like acreage-wise, something like that? I'm not quite sure. In my opinion, if you just say maintain active and passive and you complete that sentence, I think would be appropriate.
I agree. I think less is more, and it's for clarification, then it could be explored later. So do we all have agreement that we're gonna, the language will now be maintain active and passive recreational lands? All right, so maintain active and passive recreational lands to meet current and future needs, because I think that the meeting, then we can come up with some data. All right, all good with that?
Yes.
All right. Any other comments? Thank you, Mary. All right, I'm moving on to park facilities. Provide adequate facilities at all parks within the city as a park system as dictated by park use and type. Examples are mini versus neighborhood versus community park facilities. And Eric, could you just really quickly give us, mini are the ones, can you give us an example of a mini park in the city?
Mini would be East Lakeland Heights off of Stony Road. It's a small, like toddler size play lot or playground. Neighborhood would be something similar to Memorial Park or Brookstone Park. And community park facilities would be something like Commons Park.
Okay, thank you. So strategies, develop and approve a site-specific master plan as soon as parkland is designated, dedicated, or acquired. Prioritize the development of park facilities when a park service residential area begins to be developed. And the third is develop park facilities in concert with the growth of the population. Now, when it said the growth of the population, are we talking specifically the city of Lake Mills population? Or I know in the past, we were talking about shared services and such with the town and the county and such. Should we be specific, that is city of Lake Mills population and not,
You can, but I do agree with you that if there are collaboration efforts that are written in here, there would be some overlap with that. But this would mostly be referring to neighborhood development, suburban development, stuff like that. So if it's actual residential development is what it would be referring to.
okay, so
So you could say develop park facilities in concert with the growth of the population. You could say of the city of Lake Mills, or you could say residential growth or something along that lines.
So it's easiest to leave it the way it is. Or is there anyone that wants to comment about residential growth?
I think if you leave it just growth of the population, I think that's actually a good thing for ambiguity in that statement.
Agreed? All right, let's move on. Park development. Continue to prioritize the need for smaller neighborhood parks to provide better accessibility to residents within current development patterns and practices. Ensure large community parks remain the jewels in the city park system. So the strategies are to continue to develop a diversity of park sizes and types based on the characteristics and needs of individual neighborhoods and the surrounding land use and natural resource features. Analyze the location, size, and function of existing and proposed parks if annexations or zoning changes occur. 3, consider and designate, when possible, locations for city-owned parks when preparing annexations, developer agreements, and zoning changes. And moving on to page 3, number 4, assure that all neighborhood parks have multiple access points and visibility from the surrounding neighborhood and community. Require that 50% or more of park frontage is publicly accessible and visible rather than lined by residential lots. And 5, establish well-defined edges where residential lots are created adjacent to dedicated public park through development of neighborhood facility like paved bike pedestrian paths, a landscape buffer edge installed at the time of development, or fences. So any comments on the park development strategies? All right, if none, let's move on. Page 3, shared services. Coordinate development efforts in the use and maintenance of recreational facilities among the City of Lake Mills, the Lake Mills Area School District, the Town of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, and recreational associations. Strategies coordinate city, school district, county association development projects to improve and expand recreational opportunities and economic benefits throughout the community in a cost-effective manner. Second strategy, develop formal use revenue maintenance agreements among the city, school districts, and recreation associations to help operate and maintain public recreational facilities in and around the city. And number 3, cooperate with Jefferson County and the state of Wisconsin to provide additional trail connections to the Glacial Drummond Trail, Astalon State Park, and other areas associated with the Glacial Heritage Area. Yes, Mary?
Do we do number 2? Do we have any formal revenue conversations with the school district, or do we?
Yep. An example would be during line striping when they have flag football, soccer, et cetera. It would be collaboration and coordination with both our department as well as the school district's recreation department.
Okay.
I know there is some property use agreements for Wallace Park specifically because they're a co-developer of Wallace Park.
Okay.
So it's been done.
So
yes.
we do that. So we do have agreements, something more formal than just that allowing, I'm kind of thinking off of our last conversation in our resolution for the city council tomorrow of tier 2, tier 3 and 4 as an example. And so this reads as if we actually are going to look to to the school to help pay for some of our costs. I mean, this is how it kind of reads to me. And so that's why, or we're gonna have a formal agreement on how they might help with labor, or how they may add.
Formal agreements, no, not necessarily. I would have to look at that park development one for Wallace Park, but there is still collaboration within the rec department and school districts itself, but, no, not necessarily formal revenue or maintenance agreements.
So if I'm hearing Mary's comments in your response, Eric, would it be wise to drop formal and say develop use revenue maintenance agreements among?
Oh, well, yeah, that could be done. I suppose if it's something that is a priority to maintain that collaboration with them, I think it would be fine to keep that and just pull formal. Or you can say, since it says develop, it means that they're not necessarily in place, but you are developing those for future use agreements. Does that make sense? So it says develop formal use revenue maintenance agreements among the cities, school districts, and rec associations. It's not necessarily saying that we have them in place, but it could be a priority to develop them. So if you would like to maintain it as a priority for one of those strategies, I would probably say leave develop formal use agreements. Does that make sense?
Yes, because as soon as you use formal, that becomes like contract, and then what happens if someone doesn't do what they're supposed to do, and
It's not
you know, what's-
necessarily a bad thing to have formal use agreements though either.
Okay,
But my recommendation would probably be to leave it so it says develop formal use revenue agreements.
okay, all right, thank you. Thank you for the question, Mary.
I have one other
Yes,
question.
Mike.
I think we're missing a with, other areas associated with the glacial heritage
Yes.
area, the last sentence, number 3.
All right, could you say again where the width is missing, Mike?
The penultimate line of this shared service strategy.
And with other areas associated, okay, thank you. Yep. Thank you. Moving on to preservation, preserve environmentally sensitive and historically significant areas and vistas. Vistas being views and such. Strategies, preserve and enhance the quality and integrity of the surrounding scenic and visual resources provided by natural open space areas. Second strategy, incorporate and promote natural features such as floodplains, wetlands, and woodlands as quiet space recreation areas when development occurs. Number 3, minimize disruptions and impacts to environmentally sensitive or significant areas. And continuing on page 4, number 4, promote stewardship projects and volunteerism throughout the Lake Mills and surrounding area, including along Rock Lake, the Mill Pond, and Rock Creek, along with other tributaries, corridors, and upland open space areas. So comments on the preservation and the strategies. I do have one comment when we talk about number 3, minimize disruptions and impacts to environmentally sensitive or significant areas. Do we want to add like historic significant areas? Because right now it looks a little bit like that's focused on environmental stuff. And I know in the strategies, we talked about historically significant areas. Do we need to add that down there again?
You can, but it is ultimately one of the goals underneath preservation is preserve environmentally sensitive and historically significant areas. I think it's already covered within that statement.
Okay, so not, all right, let's move on then. Thank you. Next, subdivision review. So the coordinate subdivision review with all departments and boards to ensure adequate park facilities are provided. So the strategies during the planning process and before subdivision plats are approved, consult and implement the needs identified in this comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. Number 2, continually evaluate and update Title 11 subdivisions of the municipal code to ensure it adequately addresses the park and recreational needs of city residents. Okay with that? All right, let's move to non-motorized and pedestrian facilities. So we are trying to provide safe and convenient alternative transportation routes within and between residential areas, schools, shopping areas, parks, and employment centers. So the strategies listed are monitor and update the pedestrian and bicycle master plan for the city to provide a balanced analysis for transportation facilities and barriers and to guide transportation and land use decision-making. Number 2, connect missing links in the bicycle and pedestrian trail system through acquisition or trail easements. Priority segments are highlighted in map 4, proposed parks and recreational facilities. Would someone know what page map 4 is on? If someone wants to take a look
I'll
at
take
that.
a look here. $55. I have one map on 55. That's map 2.
I have
97 for map 4. Correct.
So those are highlighted on, where are they get page 57 and 94?
97.
97.
97.
All right, so if anybody listening, they can look at those. Oh, moving on, provide residents with multiple purpose trail systems that utilize environmental corridors and provide linkages between parks and other appropriate features within and outside of the city. Number 4, connect local trails to adjacent communities and the regional state trail system. Number 5, plan for and implement new bicycle and pedestrian paths in proposed and future development areas consistent with the recommendations of this comprehensive outdoor recreation plan and the transportation recommendations of the comprehensive plan. Number 6, provide safe and convenient bike connections between park and open space facilities in line with Wisconsin Department of Transportation and, you'll have to help me out, Eric, AASHTO standards?
Good question. That's outside of my area of understanding. I can look it up right now for you.
Okay. Anyone know what AASHTO standards are?
I can do park ones for you, but not necessarily that.
I'm not sure, but I think it would be good to maybe write out
American
that acronym.
Yes, I would agree.
American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials.
All right, thank you. Yes, so I would agree with, write that out and then put the abbreviation after it or before. So could you repeat it, Anita, so we can capture it, or Mike can capture
Yeah,
it?
I'm not sure what.
American Association of State Highways and Transportation Officials.
Officials, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I was just planning on referring to this because I figure it'll be in the final that everyone's voted on, not reproducing it in its entirety in the minutes.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right, yep, you bet. Thank you. Moving on, page 5, and the next bullet point is strategies, page 5. Did I miss a list here?
Number
Number
7,
seven,
did you
maybe?
create enforcement?
3,
5.
Page
page
5,
5,
number
thank
7.
you, yep, thank you. Page 5, 7, create enforcement priorities and practices and regulations for residential use of the other non-vehicle motorized devices, including motorized scooters and e-bikes. Right, and that's part of the non-motorized and pedestrian facilities.
I have one recommendation is after regulations, strike for use. There's a typo error, so it'd be regulations for resident use. The next thing is the title of this section, instead of non-motorized and pedestrian facilities, I recommended a change to alternative transportation methods and pedestrian facilities, because we do have motorized scooters listed in there on the stage number 7, or step number 7.
So the bold non-motorized and pedestrian facilities will be changed to what now, Eric?
My recommendation would be alternative transportation methods and pedestrian facilities.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to amenities, page 5. Provide residents with safe and reliable recreational equipment and facilities throughout the city park system. Strategies for listed, continue to conduct a community-wide audit of existing park equipment in conjunction with updates to the Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan, continually monitor and maintain existing park equipment to ensure its longevity and safety. Number 2, remove and/or repair unsafe, old, or deteriorating recreation equipment in all city parks. 3, identify, upgrade, replace, or install park facilities to meet Americans with Disability Act ADA guidelines. And number 4, identify and upgrade, replace all playground equipment that does not meet CPSC, Consumer Product Safety Commission, ASPM, NRPA, and/or ASTM, American Society for Testing and Materials Safety Guidelines. So let's go back and what does ASPM stand for? I just think we want to make sure we just spell out what these acronyms are.
I'm not sure this one wasn't added by staff. My assumption right now is application security posture management, but that doesn't really make sense to me. So I also have aviation system performance metrics, which I highly assume is not going to be that one. I do know NRPA's National Recreation and Parks Association would be the one that I'm familiar with.
Okay.
Perhaps just in general, we could say any acronym that isn't widely understood should be written out anywhere throughout the document.
Agreed. I believe that would help.
Followed by the acronym itself as a
yeah.
general.
Yeah. It's also just for consistency, because we're doing it in some places, not in others. I just think it'd be good to spell them out. Thank you. And then later on, just like this CORP stuff, I think once we do this, we don't have to be putting every single time. We just say CORP.
I think the tradition is you write out the first time, you
Yeah.
follow with the acronym, and then after that, you
Yeah,
use it.
yeah. So a lot of the stuff that's in there where it says Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan, I just say CORP. So any other comments? If not, let's move to forestry. Continue to further develop and implement the city's urban forestry management program. Strategies listed there are 6 of them. So the first one, implement the master tree plan to regulate the planting, removal, and management of trees on public and private lands in the city and make the city eligible for state and federal urban forestry grant and aid programs. Remove dead trees and/or treat diseased trees on public lands within the city. Next strategy 3, continue the city's tree planting and maintenance program for the public lands in the city. Number 4, continually evaluate and inspect for potential of invasive insects and diseases and take suppression actions when appropriate. 5, continue to implement the city's street tree planting policy and educate the community on proper tree planting practices for private properties. And number 6, on page 6, promote community outreach and educational materials for distribution to create better resident understanding of urban forestry best management practices. So any comments on the forestry strategies?
Well,
Yes, Mary?
It notes, number 1 for strategy, that we are going to implement the master tree plan with all of these things where it says public and private lands. So I'm not sure what our intentions are on the private lands.
I would recommend to remove private lands then.
That's what I would,
Yeah, to me, I think your 6 will maybe get at people's in the residential stuff. So we're agreeing that we're going to, on number 1, we are going to implement the plan, regulate the planting, removal, and management of trees on public, or just say on city land.
On city land.
I have, obviously, we're missing an apostrophe in all the cities there, Right, and then I do have a question. Eric, remove dead trees and or treat diseased trees on public lands. Do you need to refer to the fact that if it's oak wilt,
No, that
just
would be
skip
covered
that?
within our master street tree plan ordinances.
Good, okay.
So thank you, Mike, but let's go back to one. So what are we're taking out the private lands.
Yeah, yeah. You can
And
just take out-
private.
And private is removed.
So we'll just read, and management of trees on city lands and make the city eligible for state and federal urban forestry grant and aid programs.
Yeah, all right, thank you. So now it reads, implement the master street plan to regulate the planting, removal, and management of trees on city land, or city
Public
property.
lands.
No, I thought we just put city in there.
City is what was recommended. We
Oh,
can put
okay.
public in there. It's up to you guys as far as what you would like to put in.
Yeah. And then,
Whichever.
yeah, to make the city eligible for this. Any other comments on strategies on page 5 or 6? All right, if not, let's move on to service and maintenance. Ensure the city park facilities are safe and well-maintained while providing all segments of the community with quality park and recreation facilities and services. So the 4 strategies listed are utilize resident involvement and participation in planning, developing, operating, stewarding, and maintaining the city's park system. 2, use the comprehensive, CORP recommendations as a guide to establish annual capital improvement and operation budgets. 3, analyze and maintain an appropriate and equitable user fee system to help offset maintenance and operations costs. And number 4, promote stewardship projects and volunteerism throughout Lake Mills. Is it a minor edit to put City of Lake Mills or just leave it at Lake Mills?
Lake Mills will be fine.
Okay. Any comments on the service and maintenance strategies?
There just seems to be a consistent typo with that apostrophe missing after cities.
Okay.
So I won't bring that up again. I think it's throughout there.
All right, thank you. Moving on page 6 to planning, maintain a current comprehensive, so maintain a CORP strategies, 3 listed, continually monitor the park and recreation needs of the community through a regular online survey of existing facilities and desired new facilities. Number 2, evaluate the implementation plan annually and identify, update actions to reflect changing needs and actual accomplishments. And number 3, update the entire CORP every 5 years to reflect changes in community needs and desires and to maintain eligibility for state and federal grant and aid funding. Everything good in strategy? All
I
right.
think it looks good.
To budgeting, page 6. Adopt an adequate park budget that can financially address existing park needs and maintenance and allow for future parkland acquisition and future park facility development. Strategies continue on page 7. There are 2, use the 5-year park improvement schedule and action plan sections of the CORP as a guide to establish yearly park budgets. And number 2, use any available funds to develop facilities which will optimize existing park and recreational areas and increase park use.
I'm just kind of wondering if we wanted to say adopt a park budget that can financially address and take that adequate out again, or?
So we're on page 6.
Mhm.
So could you just repeat that, please, Anita?
Instead of having adequate, just say adopt a park budget that can financially address existing park needs and maintenance and, and allow for future parkland acquisition and future park facility development.
Thank you. Any other comments on that? That's dropping it adequate? So it's going to be a park budget. All right, thank you. So page 7, funding. Use all available sources of funds to further enhance the quality of the city's park system. The strategies listed are 6 strategies. Pursue funding from state and federal programs which can assist in the acquisition or development of desired park system improvements. Number 2, solicit, review, and assess donations from other public and private organizations to aid in park system development. 3, update the CORP every 5 years to maintain grant eligibility. 4, develop revenue-generating recreational activities and facilities which can aid in the development of new facilities and/or the maintenance of existing facilities. And 5, review the parkland dedication section of Title 11, subdivision of the municipal code to determine if updating is necessary. 6, regularly update the park impact fee ordinance as park needs assessments determined and in conjunction with the 5-year update to the CORP. The city's parkland dedication and fee in lieu of dedication impact fee ordinance should continue to reflect the current demand for parkland as well as recently adopted state law changes. So on funding, any comments on the strategies? All right, so we have captured the version 2 changes. And so this is something we can, what's our next step with that then, Eric?
What I will do is I'll make these edits, send it to all the Parks Board members. What I would do at this point is in creating future agendas, maybe select a next area that the Parks Board would like to look at as far as review of them. Probably do that this evening during the future agenda items or create next meeting agenda items.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? All right, so let's move forward to item number 7. Announcements, facilities and grounds director employment status. I believe this is going to be taken over by Mr. Eric.
Just want to say that I have been given an offer and accepted an offer to serve as the City of Fitchburg Parks and Forestry Manager. I appreciate all the time that everyone's given me on the Parks Board here. It's been an absolute pleasure to serve this community, my home community. It's something that I'll really miss. There's a huge amount of reward that comes with serving any community, let alone your home community. It's very symbolic that this is my first job working within the Parks Department. I feel like I've grown a lot within my position, and I certainly hope the best for the city of Lake Mills. So thank you all, I appreciate it, and thank you all to the residents.
All right.
So when will the change take place that you're leaving?
My last day will be the 28th of October.
Oh, my.
As far as a replacement for this position, the capacity for that, I'll defer to Drake.
The position won't be filled till after the first of the year.
Say it again?
The position won't be filled until after the first of the year.
Okay, all right. Probably we want to talk about a few of the things that are sort of in place for Rotary and things before you go. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Any unfinished business is my priority right now for this week, closing any doors or things that are in progress at this point. If things that cannot be completed throughout basically the remainder of this year, finding a replacement contact or some city staff member to assist in my absence is what we'll do.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Eric or Drake or Mary regarding the announcement? I will say this, Eric, was very happy for you, but took me back a bit because it's been great working with you, and I think you've been a tremendous asset to this Parks Board with your diligence and your dedication and your ability to report to us and the hours that you've shared. So I think there's a lot of onus on Drake and the city to find a replacement that can shine as well as you, so.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So if no other items or questions for Eric or Drake, let's move on to number 8, creating next meeting agenda items. I would ask Drake, might you be here for the next meeting to give us an update on what our next steps are as a Parks Board, who we're talking to, or who's going to be presenting the facility or the director's report at the next 2 or 3 meetings?
Yeah, I think we should expect for a very truncated staff support towards the Parks Commission for the next couple of months. I certainly can attend if there's, agenda items that need to go on, but as far as, actual progress and work that's being completed within the department, we're largely going to go into a maintenance mode and take care of our typical annual and monthly tasks, but we'll be putting, longer term kind of things on hold until we have leadership in place again within the department.
And I guess I wasn't very clear, but I'm looking at the November meeting, if there's someone that's currently on staff, either Eric's staff or someone, because I know a lot of people like to know what the plan is for the holiday decorations and what the ice rink is going to be and stuff like that. So to be on the agenda so people know what the plan is or what the.
Yeah, I can have an abbreviated director's report or, I suppose, leadership report forwarded to you, Tim. It is not going to be to the extent of what I provide for director's reports, but it'll be general updates as far as mostly timing and scheduling updates.
Right.
I
I think that's what, just for the Parks Board and for the public, just to get an idea of when is this going to happen. And
I can't tell you exactly when the ice rinks are going to go in.
right, we understand it.
But I can give a abbreviated timeline or have a staff member give an abbreviated timeline to you. So like when decorations are going up, stuff like
Yes.
that. So,
Yeah, when Santa's going to go up and
sure.
such. All right, thank you. Any other agenda items?
I have 2. One I would suggest, I think I have it on. Safety issue with the Bartles Beach is the board may wish to consider speed bumps or asking about speed bumps on the approaches to it. It's
Can you clarify?
well, as you come in to the Bartles Beach, you're coming from the north. The Bartles Beach building presents a blind corner there.
Oh, you're talking about the city, the Ferry Drive?
Ferry Drive.
Okay.
And that, I know Laura Manley, one of their kids, this is some years back, almost got clipped by someone coming around that corner. And then obviously come from the other side on the bridge, you coming into a huge parking lot, absolutely blocked as far as vision goes. I'm amazed we haven't had issues. People come zooming through there. Now, we brought this up once before, and the previous city manager said something about it was an alternate state highway, so it couldn't be done, and perhaps that's true, although my minor Google search didn't seem to support that. But if the board agrees that that's an issue to be looked at, it might be referred to the Public Works Board, I guess, who would be in charge of the highways. And I think the other issue was they were concerned about snowplows, and I believe there are removable speed bumps, because you wouldn't need it in winter.
Yeah, I think
Just
this.
something to think about.
I think this would be outside of the purview of Parks Board and more appropriate
Exactly.
for Public Works Board.
But if the Parks Board is concerned about the safety of the facilities, they could refer it to the Public Works.
Okay,
That's
we
one
can certainly put it on the agenda.
Okay. The other,
And you said another item?
yeah, I have an announcement too. Wrote it down. I'm grateful for the chance to have been of service to this community and to serve on this board, and have enjoyed working with the various board members. I have especially appreciated working with now former Director Schreiner. He is smart, industrious, well-spoken, and very committed to providing the best possible recreational opportunities to the citizens and visitors of Lake Mills. I was very surprised and disappointed to find out from the agenda that his position would be open, and it made me consider my continued service on this board. I take my responsibilities seriously, and I do not lightly curtail them, and never have. But I feel it best if I resign from the Parks Board, effective immediately. I will, of course, produce the minutes for this meeting, and I would be happy to assist my successor, whomever that may be, in any way desired. And I wish you all the very best. That's all I have for tonight.
Is my jaw dropped? Well,
Not as much as mine did when I read the agenda, but, yep. So that's all I have.
well, thank you for your service, Mike, and thank you for that offer to do the minutes and such. So again, a round of applause for Mike and his service. So now with this free time you're gonna have, what are you gonna be doing now? Running a flag over on Ferry Drive to make sure
Reading
people
the
don't get run
dictionary.
over?
Oh, actually, I already got a speed gun from the cops once, and I recorded, but I'll read the dictionary.
All right, well, thank you. Wow. Yes, Mary?
Okay, so I do have an agenda item. I'm going to go to the agenda, the CORP discussion. We had talked about, I don't know if I think it's chapter 8, or at least getting our arms wrapped around each park and possible improvements to have like our refreshed ideas on maybe areas of focus. I know Jacob had talked about some Tyranina Park improvements, and so I think that might be a good conversation we can have even while we're waiting for a new person to come on staff in 2026, at least kind of get our arms wrapped around concepts that we might be interested in. I think that would be a good,
That's chapter 8, Mary?
I think, I would say that's recommended park and open space improvements. And it's written in a lot of, this isn't a lot of narrative, but if we could just even put a table, and I don't know, I don't remember seeing a table in here when I was reviewing this.
Talked about a table, I think.
We can create a table just to say, we had talked about putting a basketball court in lieu of a volleyball court at this park, and, Tyranina Park. So just create a table, park by park, of possible ideas or improvements to put on the radar screen that could be in the future for the next 5 years. I think might be worth our time getting us.
One of the
instead
things.
Instead of not keeping momentum on our discussion, we have the strategies and goals. And now if we take it to the park level, see what we come up with would be helpful.
One thing I would like to bring up is on our new website, we do have park amenities listed for each park that are available as well. So you can kind of get the rundown as far as what currently exists at each park to give you a baseline. So hopefully that would be helpful.
All right, and Mary, could you state what your agenda item is again?
The agenda item would be to have a discussion regarding each specific park and the possible recommended or ideas for improvements
Okay,
in each park.
and that you're pointing at what page is that in the corp?
In the current CORP, it's on page 80, and it's chapter 8
Okay,
that had it in the last CORP.
all right, thank you. So chapter 8 and discussion and were there recommendations or discussions on the agenda? Would you like to have recommendations or?
Or just discussion. I think start the discussion regarding the improvements, because there was a set of recommendations on page 89. And I think if we reconcile it, what was done, what wasn't done, and what is outstanding based on our recent conversation, I think refreshing that would be helpful. So that when we turn over for the meet and hunt to do like the capturing the front stuff, we have our own input on that part.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I think it would be a good idea because we have had some input from residents on some potential ideas for specific parks, so I'd like to see us do that too.
All right, thank you.
I had a few, first, congratulations, guys, on the next chapter. My stuff seems kind of insignificant now, but a couple things. I've been doing some research on kind of how to increase funding for our parks. One of the things I've strangely found is selling naming rights to parks is actually becoming common. Austin, Texas, Cleveland, and Sparks, Nevada are selling the names of their parks, whether it be to a family or a business. I don't know, but it sounds like it's relatively profitable. Obviously, they're a lot bigger than Lake Mills. I would love to have a discussion on whether that is something that we could look at, because some of the parks don't really have a name. They don't really have a name that, I don't know, like Commons Park could, generate $10,000 a year in revenue if we changed it to
Yeah,
Johnson.
so yeah, we can put on, so whether it be naming or even sponsorships.
Sponsoring some of the.
Because a
some
lot
of
of your
the-
ballparks and such have all sorts of sponsorships.
Yeah.
Yes, Eric, you had a comment?
That's something that has been preliminary looked at staff and reviewed other municipal plans for athletic field advertising. So that's something that could be implemented,
Yeah, one of the. one of
but it
the
has
s-
been researched.
Thank you.
One of the cities, they said, this is, this park sponsored by this family. And it's basically signage.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge, transition of the park. It could keep
Yeah.
but I would love to have a discussion, about that as a possible source of revenue.
Just really quickly, when you're researched, are they for like a certain, they have naming rights for X amount of years, like ballparks and such?
Correct. So,
Okay.
and whether or not that would go to the general fund or directly to the Parks Department, it's different for the municipalities. These cities are spending lots of money to try and get consulting firms to give them a value on their park. But obviously, we can't afford, I think Austin spent $33 million, something like that.
Whoa. Okay.
Or, yeah, but just these little ideas, and it might be just something as simple as signage, which I think we can make the signs relatively cheap.
Okay, thank you.
That was one of the ideas I had, and I spoke with, Mary and I actually did a field trip out to Tyranina Park, and I thought when we went to Sandy Beach and walked around, I thought it was very valuable, and I propose that we do it again, maybe before the snow hits. Because I was walking around Tyranina Beach, and I know I emailed Tyranina Park, and I emailed Eric, and I said, a lot of these trails have become impassable, and there's rebar poking up out of the ground.
So are you speaking upper Tyranina or lower Tyranina?
Upper Tyranina, so yeah, right, right there. Well, the entire park itself, but there's rebar where wood was, and the wood is gone. And now the rebar is shooting directly up out of the ground at like 8 inches tall.
Yeah.
And it's basically like someone could definitely hurt themselves on it.
Okay.
So I don't know if that would be a possibility of us just literally walking around Tyranina Park. And, because I think it's very valuable.
So you want that in the agenda for us to be?
If that's
for us
in the
to be
agenda,
doing?
like remotely before the next one, I'd love to maybe get out there before the snow hits, and just
Alright.
kind of see what we're working with, because I think it is incredibly valuable to the decisions we have to
So
make.
future Parks Board field trips will be on the agenda.
Yeah, and
Okay, thank you.
see that.
All right. Any other agenda? I do have one I want to put on there. Discussion and/or volunteers for a replacement secretary. So just so you know, we're going to be nominating a Mr. Jacob to be secretary. Or Anita.
He may not show up, be careful.
That could be. But we're gonna, and plus, I don't know on the agenda item, if it's gonna be Lisa, who's going to be the person that is gonna find replacement for Mike before the end of the year. I don't know if that will happen. But it might be a good agenda item to say, we need to have a secretary.
Eric's got some free time now.
You still be a resident, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, on the Parks Board.
No, you're not even a resident of the city technically, are you?
No.
No, okay. All right, so just be aware, I do want to put it on the agenda, though, that we do need a secretary and either volunteer or nominated, and then we'll go from there. All right, any other agenda items? All right, then what's our next agenda item? We'll continue as part of that, the agenda would be the part of chapter 8. And then the next meeting is Monday, November 10th, here. So 10 is adjournment at 6:54 PM. Thank you very much.